When you scroll through a sea of TV listings, it's easy to get stuck on the glossy pictures and the 4K QLED badge, only to end up with a screen that feels flatter than a window and a sound system that sounds more like a tin can than a theater. I've been there. I bought a TV because the marketing promised a cinematic experience, set it up in my living room, and then realized the picture looked washed out in my bright kitchen, while the built-in speakers barely filled the room. That's why I'm doing this deep dive on the TCL 65-inch QM7K QLED 4K Smart TV paired with the Q655HQ Class 2.0 channel soundbar. I want to help you avoid the looks good on paper, disappointing in practice trap. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the environment where you'll actually use this TV. The QM7K is a 65-inch panel that leans heavily on its QD Mini LED backlight, a technology that promises finer control over brightness zones. In a dimly lit bedroom, that precision shows up as deeper blacks and brighter highlights, the kind of contrast that makes a midnight horror film feel truly eerie. In a sun-filled family room, however, the TV's peak brightness caps around 600 nits, which is respectable but not enough to completely banish glare on a large window. If you're planning to watch mostly after sunset or in a dedicated media room, you'll appreciate those nuanced shadows. If your primary viewing spot battles daylight, you might still need a matte screen protector or a strategic curtain to tame reflections. Now, the picture processing. TCL's Halo control system ties the QD Mini LED dimming with the color management algorithms. The result is an image that stays fairly stable across different content types: sports, movies, or gaming. I tested a fast-moving soccer match and noticed that motion blur was minimal. The ball stayed crisp even during rapid panning. That's because the TV supports a 120Hz refresh rate, which is a welcome feature for gamers who use a 120Hz console or PC. The HDMI 2.1 port also handles variable refresh rate, VRR, meaning you won't see the dreaded tearing when you're in the middle of a competitive shooter. If you're a console gamer, the lag is low enough to feel responsive, though it's not quite on the level of a dedicated gaming monitor that boasts sub-5 ms response times. Color reproduction is where the QD Mini LED shines. Compared to a standard LED panel of the same size, the QM7K pushes more saturated reds and retains detail in the bright whites, making HDR content look lively without crushing the dark areas. In practice, a Netflix documentary about coral reefs displayed vibrant underwater scenes that were noticeably richer than my older 55-inch LCD. However, I did notice a slight halo effect around very bright objects against a dark background, a side effect of aggressive dimming zones. It's not a deal-breaker, but if you're a critical cinephile who works with professional grading tools, you'll probably spot it. Sound is another story. The TV itself has a decent set of built-in speakers, but TCL clearly expects you to pair it with the Q655H soundbar. The bar brings 5.1-channel virtual surround through Dolby Atmos and DTS processing. In a test with a dialogue-heavy drama, the front speakers delivered clear vocals while the upward-firing drivers added a subtle height dimension to explosions and ambient effects. The effect isn't a full-blown theater surround, but it fills a 12-foot living room without you having to run wires to rear speakers. The bar's design is compact and can sit just under the TV, making it look like an integrated part of the display rather than an afterthought. Practical strengths emerge when you start using the TV daily. The Google TV interface loads quickly and merges content from Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney+, and even live TV apps without forcing you to juggle multiple remotes. Voice search works reliably. I asked it to play the latest episode of The Crown and within seconds, the correct title queued up. The remote itself, part of the Halo system, offers a minimalistic layout but includes a dedicated button for picture mode, so you can switch between cinema, game, and vivid on the fly. The learning curve is shallow. A new user can get comfortable in a handful of minutes. On the flip side, there are hidden trade-offs that some buyers might overlook. The QM7K lacks HDMI-RC on its main HDMI port. Instead, you need to use the separate ARC/eARC port on the back to get audio from the TV to the soundbar. That means you have to run a longer cable if your soundbar isn't directly behind the TV. The TV also doesn't support Apple AirPlay 2 or HomeKit, which matters if you're entrenched in the Apple ecosystem and expect seamless streaming from an iPhone or Mac. Finally, the TV's firmware updates have been a bit uneven. Some users report that a new update added a menu glitch that required a factory reset. It's not a frequent occurrence, but it's worth noting if you're risk-averse about software stability.